Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the I'm Only Serious News Network Sunday paper program. Tonight's news story is Vlad the Mad gets set to bum rush the Ukraine. Mrs. Obamacare resigns, apparently looking for better coverage. Free grazing cowboys back in Nevada. The CIA is lying to America. Who said that? And in sports, the Phillies are flying level. The Flyers are flying into the playoffs. The Eagles are flying with clipped wings. And the Sixers are so low, they're in their owner's devil suite. Right? Sweet. With two E's on that. These stories and more on tonight's edition of the I'm Only Serious News Network Sunday paper program.
It's the I'm Only Serious News Network. With Dan Mahan, John Smarmy, Tony Viejo, John Rice, Tim Eli, Dave Morrow, and Darren Martinez.
In national news, the GOP gathered up in New Hampshire this week in a meeting for conservatives, which was loaded with speakers pitching for the GOP presidential nomination. Among them, Newt Gingrich, the philandering former Speaker of the House, who should be well into wife number 4 by the start of the primaries in the fall of 2015, talked of family values. Yeah, there's a guy you want to listen to. Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky acknowledged that the Republican Party was dominated by fat cats, rich people, and Wall Street. The fact that he's aware that there's at least 3 levels of rich tells you all you need to know about Rand Paul. Cracker, please. Meanwhile, new hot boy Paul Ryan, the Republicans' representative from Wisconsin, unleashed his budget proposal that would first cut taxes for the rich while raising taxes on the middle class and the poor. Yeah, nice guy, a-hole. Of course, someone forgot to tell these humps that the primary in New Hampshire, the first state to have it in each presidential season, is 2 years away. Maybe Newt will actually be in the wife number 5 by then. Still speaking of family values, though. In Nevada, a cattle rancher assembled his own posse when the feds started rounding up his 400 head of cattle because they were free grazing on federal lands. Well, after a brief standoff, the feds released all the cattle, leaving the posse free to go start hunting more Injuns. That's what they had to do up there in Nevada. But speaking of Nevada, Hillary Clinton was out at a speaking engagement this week when a woman threw her shoe at her and missed. Yeah. The attacker was 36-year-old Allison Mitchell Ernest, who was booked on disorderly conduct and released. Mrs. Clinton, on the other hand, was led to the city limits and asked never to return for breaking the whatever goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas code. You dumb bitch. Anything for publicity. President Obama's Secretary of Health and Human Services, who was in charge of rolling out Obamacare, resigned this week. Yeah, she claimed to be suffering from pre-existing conditions, which is now covered. Good for her. And the CIA, folks, is under fire based on the soon-to-be-released report about their role in lying to Congress, the White House, and pretty much everyone else during the intense interrogation technique period, which was post 9/11 until about 2006. Better known in the Muslim world as the Inquisition period. Yeah, we learned a lot from back then, which we sure did. Yes. And during questioning by the Senate panel, a CIA operative kept denying the charges until his pants caught on fire. Yeah, it didn't take long. In fact, some of the techniques that they were being accused of using were waterboarding, stress positions, sleep deprivation for up to 11 days at a time, confinement in a cramped box, slapped around, and slamming them into walls. Well, I'm sorry, folks. That's my Bartram High story. Had nothing to do with the CIA. Now, in international news, folks, Putin is still holding back on his invasion of the Ukraine. Apparently, this time he has sent scouts in to check out the land and make sure it ain't a Crimea. That place was a dump. President Obama stated, though, that if he does invade the Ukraine, he's going to start calling Mr. Putin names. Hey, I take that. Which, of course, Putin replied, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. And then began his invasion. Right after that, yes. And in the Pope world, Pope Frank continues to make news. Yeah. He's now become the first Pope in over 600 years to take the sacrament of penance. Yeah, he gave his confession to a priest who Ios News found out was never heard from after that. You know what I mean? But the big news was that he gave his confession. So he wasn't infallible. Also, Pope Frank has recently fired the bishop of a small German town where he built his $43 million bishop mansion. And one in America here who built a $4.5 million one is asked to move out. Yeah, that's our Frank force. And for you, of course, now he's also talking about the sex and the priests, and I apologize for that. And if you know anything about our last pope, his brother over there in Germany, there's some questions there with the choir kids. You know what I'm saying? Which, for you prophecy buffs, this is that point where the beast, the one head comes back, and the other three are taken. Okay, look in your Bible, folks. You'll find it there. But more on the international news scene, we go to our own Smarmy, John Smarmy, and Smarmy's Eye on the World. Smarmy?
Thanks, Dad. Nice Hawaiian shirt, by the way. By the way, did you know that Maui Maui in Hawaii means, please, baby, swallow this pill? But enough about my Friday nights, folks. Let's get to some international news. Strange man goes inside a Walmart, pretends to be a podiatry student to suck women's toes. The toe sucker terrorist, they're calling this gentleman. I actually tried this. I went to a Target, pretended to be a proctologist to squeeze some booty. I got caught. There's a big double standard. Do not squeeze booty in Target, folks. Or suck toes. That's just creepy and gross. New York City has the world's largest egg hunt. It's the homeless people leaving off some stomach release all over the city. Nothing says chocolate than an Easter homeless duty scavenger hunt. Smarmy knows, folks. Smarmy knows. The size of your cereal may cause you to eat more. That's why I've been overindulgent. I'm eating 2 bowls of Cracker Oat cereal a day. I need to cut back. That's a really good cereal. Over the Smarmy vacation break, actor James Franco was called out for flirting with a hot 17... Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say hot. That's creepy. A 17-year-old girl. If we all got locked up for doing that, there would be no male population. And plus, in certain states like Pennsylvania, isn't 17 legal? This guy would know. Actor Bryan Cranston threatens a prom date with his Walter White voice. Calls on her to say yes to the demand. Where was this rape-encouraging celebrity hype when I was in high school? I could have been swimming in coos. Sorry, just from our film director upstairs, we can't say coos. That's like urban for something. Sorry. And finally, a big FU to the Wheel of Fortune show for screwing over contestants for not being able to pronounce certain words. This is America. We're allowed to be a little bit dumb, for Christ's sakes. If we wouldn't be America. Take the show over to Britain, Pat St. Nutjack. And that's all I have for the news. Dan, I'm going to swing it back over to you.
Thanks, Smarmy. And thanks to the makers of I'm Always Cereal, Quaker Please. Quaker Please. That's what he's actually having, right, Smarmy, wasn't it? It wasn't Quaker Oats. Please. The sponsors of I'm Always Cereal. As you know, folks, in last week's segment, it comes with gifts in each box. Let's see what we got in this week's batch. Some more lemon heads. Oh yeah, the kids love them. But as you notice, we don't give them too much. You know what I mean? Quaker Please. What else for Dad? Old VHS movie. Yeah, apparently the president of the company is getting rid of his old stash. Yeah. But this here happens to be a good one. Silent Rage, you haven't seen it. I'm sure maybe Darren will talk about it one of these nights. We're going to put that right back into the old gift box. And remember, when you're out shopping, look for your own version of I'm Always Cereal by the makers, Quaker Please. In local news, folks, Mayor Nutter Butter Peanut Butter did not attend the recent meeting of the school district officials and the parents of the students at Philadelphia's New Jack City High School, formerly known as Bartram High. The meeting introduced a new co-principal who is a retired Marine and a 9th degree black belt. Yeah, finally somebody could take over there. As well as the increased police presence that will be deployed. Asked why he didn't attend, Mayor Nutter Butter said, "That house sure going crazy." Then gave the whoop, 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 and The reporter got whiplash and the interview ended. Yes, that's how it works. And politicians are starting to flock to Philadelphia, folks, in the hopes of getting some cash from the government on tape and then walking away with it, penalty free. Oh yeah. At another point, Mayor Notably was asked of the whole affair, and he said, "This house sure going crazy again." What the hell? Yeah. This time he did a whoop, 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 before he left. Yeah. That's our mayor for us. And locally, folks, as spring break arrives, it's also the local migration of the Cougars down to the Jersey Shore to get their summer rentals together. And speaking of such things, our very own Tony Viejo, who's be reporting from his thoughts, the iOS News thoughts, on Panama City Beach, Florida. Better known as Spring Break Part 1, the early years, as many of his old stories will be brought to us live. Tony?
Thanks, Dan. Yes, I, Tony Viejo, am back to bring you guys some information about Panama City Beach, Florida. As you may have seen on some other news programs, Panama City Beach has been in the news lately because apparently the debauchery that takes place there is a new thing. Well, let me tell you something. Back when I lived there in 2001 to 2010, it was, well on its way there already. Like, for example, my first year there, I was walking down the beach. I didn't know it was spring break. I didn't know what was going on. I was some goth kid from Philadelphia. I'm in a duster on the beach. Yeah, I was a retard. Anyway, by the way, if you're goth in Florida, what the hell's wrong with you? You live in the Sunshine State. Women are in bikinis. What do you have to be upset about? Seriously, stop listening to The Cure. Go outside. There's women in bikinis down there. Jesus Christ. But as I have to say, I was walking down the beach and I just see women drinking, ass shaking, beautiful women everywhere, guys fighting, people just obnoxiously just funneling beer. It was a blast. It's a great time. And it's a wholesome family environment too, because at that same time, all these colleges are on spring break, so are all the middle schools. So that's the problem that people have. People start seeing this and going, oh my God, all these college kids are having spring break. Oh no, this is out of hand. Because 4 or 5 families filmed it and sent it in. It's your fault for taking your kids that are 7 and 8 years old and having to give them talk at the ages of 7 and 8 because you took them to the freaking spring break capital of the USA. That's your fault, America, not Panama City's fault. That's how that city gets their income. You know what it's like when it's not spring break and the summertime's over? There's 5 people that live in that town. I was one of the 5. We all sit at the same bar. We all slept with the same girl. It was pathetic. We had to wait for the influx of new spring breakers to come in and get pooned. But no, they were too high class for us. They wouldn't sleep with a local. I had to pretend I was some guy from STFU University out of Wisconsin to get laid. You know what that's like? How do you fake a Wisconsin accent? I don't know. I like cheese. That's probably all I did. I have no freaking clue what I'm talking about anymore. But I will say this. The roofling that was given to me that one night by that strange guy at Buck Wild, that was a great night. I'll never forget you, Jerry. Back to you, Dan.
Thanks, Tony. That's a hell of a curve with that cherry story, wasn't it, folks? Oh, yeah. Speaking of curves, in sports, the Phillies are 500 again. Yeah. After being swept by the Milwaukee Brewers, they finished out the week by sweeping the Florida Marlins. Yes, they did. Pitcher A.J. Burnett, though, pulled his groin before pitching 6 innings in the game. When Total was on TV, he said his feelings were hurt and went on a disabled list. What a pussy. The Flyers start their playoffs this week, folks, and they face the New York Rangers, formerly known as the Smurfs back in the 80s for you old heads. Yeah. Goalie Steve Mason is the key to this season's success now with the playoffs on hand, if he's healthy. But winger Zach Rinaldo, who was suspended for the last 4 games of the regular season, gets to come back for the playoffs. And he's recently quoted as saying he has never taken a bad penalty, which required the NHL to call him back in for drug testing. Go Zach, go Zach. And the Eagles news, as you know, Deshaun Jackson has moved on from the Eagles' nest and has been signed by the Washington Redskins. And in showing how dedicated he is, both with his teammates and his organization, when they had their voluntary camp start this Monday, he decided to take a vacation. Because January to April was just not enough time. That was home time. So good luck there, Redskins. And I believe his vacation was going back to L.A. and explaining to his boys how he's going to have to wear red to get paid the digits. And with the Sixers, their season is almost complete and will be by the airing of this program. And they will finish in second to the last place in the NBA, which is a good spot for them because it gets us a high draft pick. And owner Josh whatever his jackass name is. His Jersey Devils aren't in the playoffs either. That's what you get. But that's it for the sports, but for some entertainment news, our very own Darren Martinez has some selections for you to check out. Darren?
Like Dan said, the weather's getting better, and the Phillies are at 500 right now. And in light of the Phillies being at 500, just in light of baseball being back, first movie I want to recommend is Major League.
Classic.
Classic, right?
Yeah, oh,
You've seen it how many times?
Since it came out on VHS, it's
That was a
been a
trick
while.
question. I know. So it's just a great film to watch. It's funny. Wesley Snipes is in it. So I mean, of course, a bunch of other great guys are in it. Tom Berenger, amongst others. But definitely check it out if you've never seen it. Major League.
Even if you have,
Even if you have, yeah.
check it out again.
And so Tony was talking about Panama City, and we're talking about spring break. So the second film I want to recommend is Revenge of the Nerds 2, Nerds of Paradise. Have you ever seen this one?
No.
Classic, classic. This is one of these movies. This is the movie that you watch before you go on a vacation with your friends,
Oh, yeah.
because this is the kind of vacation you wish to have.
Nice.
At least I did. All right, so yeah, that's the second movie.
That would be in my porn section in my movie rack, just by the cover.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's there's a lot of guys in there.
Well, I wasn't looking at the guys, but go ahead.
Okay. And the third and last movie I want to recommend is, well, in the news, in the movie theaters, I should say, there's a trailer out for a new film called Let's Be Cops, about two guys who dress up as cops one night, and they go on a whole, mission and adventure, pretending to be cops one night. And one of the stars of that film is Damon Wayans Jr. I don't know if you know who Damon Wayans Jr. is, but I'm sure you know his father, Damon Wayans.
Yeah.
And because I just brought up Damon Wayans, I'm going to say you go ahead and go watch Mo Money.
Mo Money.
Because if you like Damon Wayans Jr., he was good in Other Guys. He played a small role in that film. And you like him in the trailer for Let's Be Cops, then go check out his father in Mo Money. Because this is one of his best films that he was star of.
Yeah.
Deals with some corruption, and it's funny. And Marlon Wayans is in it. He was really young.
Yeah.
I liked it. So those are the three movies I'm going to recommend you guys go check out this weekend. And that's all I have. Back to you, Dan.
Thank you, Darren. And the Wayne brothers, they're all a very talented group, and like a lot of their movies. But staying with the entertainment industry, we have our very own John Rice back with us after his long absence, and he has his game review updates for us, which we haven't heard in quite a while. John?
Thanks, Dan. And hi, I'm back, yes. And if everyone likes playing video games, and we all love watching South Park, one of the newest games out. South Park: The Stick of Truth. It's one of my favorites now, and I want to share with you some of the achievements you can get doing at the game. If you fart on an enemy dog, you find Jesus as playing as a Jew. Accept your fate with the name Douchebag. Fart on the corpse of an aborted zombie fetus. Defeat 20 enemies with Cartman's ass. Shit your pants during a boss fight. Fart on over 25 different animals. Fling a turd of your own creation at an enemy. And my favorite, the inside joke. Use Mr. Slave while inside Mr. Slave. Think about it, it's a little weird. But remember, folks, it's all shits and giggles until someone giggles and shits. Thanks. Back to you, Dan.
Thank you, Rice, and it's good to have you back. In fact, I understand that you recently are near completion of a book you've written during your long recovery. I believe it's titled 7 Things You Can Quit and How. Now, I noticed each chapter kind of deals basically with a question, such as chapter 1, where you say, how do you quit smoking? What was your response for that?
Easy, Dan. Getting in a motorcycle accident, going to a coma for 7 weeks, you'll quit smoking.
And now in chapter 2, it was another question where you dealt with how to lose your girlfriend. And you kind of around about the same answer. What was your response for how do you lose your girlfriend?
It's almost the same. It's almost the same, a little different. You want to lose your girl to another man, swoop in there. You just stop showing up because, you get in a motorcycle accident and you go into a coma for 7 weeks. So, you don't buy her anything.
Well, see, that's probably where it got me, because I started to wonder the way that answer went in chapter 2. Do you have advice on, like, when's the best time to get yourself in that situation? Like, to avoid the holidays, maybe be able to get Valentine's Day squeezed in there, too?
Well, that's actually going to be my follow-up sequel book, is how to prepare your motorcycle accident instead of weed coma, and skip out on cooking for Thanksgiving, buying people things, holiday gifts, or missing out on any of the big updates.
All right, well, we're going to look forward to that, and that new book should be out in e-books soon, very soon. Well, next up for us, folks, is our very own Dave Ron Morrow, giving us his weekly Mystic Minute. Dave Ron?
Yes, thank you, Daniel. Yes, I am Dave Ron Morrow. This is the Mystic Minute, and I am your host, Dave Ron Morrow. We went into the backstory about what the kind of deal is. Watch the last episode, and we'll get you up to date, okay? First thing we're going to talk about today is how that fucking Pierre LaPierre has not been returning my calls for the weigh-in coming up for the Psychic Jiu-Jitsu tournament. I don't understand how weight matters if you don't have matter during the fight, Pierre. The fuck are you trying to... Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry about that little incident there. Sometimes Ron gets a little bit out of hand. Dan, what I would actually like to talk about this week is the incident with Hillary Clinton earlier this week, in which a shoe was thrown at her in Las Vegas. Now this very shoe, you see, was made by the same warlock who's responsible for the magic bullet in the Kennedy assassination. Now granted, they're trying to take different approaches to weight. You can't exactly execute an American official in the streets quite as easily as you could before, but if you can poison their fashion accessories, you can cripple them at any time. Now, granted, this was not a very successful attempt on their part. There are, from what I've been able to gather, that there are six-dimensional dust mites that are actually in the shoe itself. Now, clearly, Hillary Clinton wasn't wearing the shoe at the time. But that's what happens when you send out a low-level golem to do a job that is meant for an actual human being. Sometimes the other side, I just don't. I can't believe they rely on the methods that they do. Well, that has been your Mystic Minute this week. Stay tuned as I continue on my journey towards the World Championship of Psychic Jiu-Jitsu. I am Dave Moll. Back to you, Dan.
Thank you, Dave and Ron. I don't know if you noticed, but Hillary has her own dust mites in her undies. Cracker, please. But stick around, Dave and Ron, because it's time for another commercial for Quaker Please and their very own cereal brand, I'm Only Cereal. And I know you enjoyed this before in the past.
Yes, I have.
And if you're like me, Dave, you just take the cereal right out, because you got to get to the gifts inside, right? Come on,
Of course.
man. It's always fun
It
gifts.
is delicious cereal, though, but right now,
Let's see what we got. There's always, for the kids. Welch's, they must be part of our sponsorship now.
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit
Hopefully
of
someday.
fruit juice. And there's usually something for Dad in here. Whoa, look at that. Well, I don't know if that's a good idea to have around in the box.
No. I think I gotta get this out of here. We might not want that around. Kids might get the wrong idea. I'll hold on to this for you, Dan.
Okay, I'm sure that was Ron. Okay, Ron. And remember, we're friends. And for everybody else out there, run to your supermarket, see what you got in your box of I'm Only Cereal from Quaker Please cereal brands. And now, folks, we get to the part of the show where we do some viewer mail. Yeah, all six of you. Stop right. Nah, I'm only serious. And to do it with us tonight, our very own Tim Eli and myself will do the viewer mail. Tim.
Well, hello and thank you. I'm Tim Eli. And thank you to our sponsor. I'm only serious about the news. What the hell is the name of that cereal anyway? It's the one and only cereal that comes in the shape of meat cleavers. Anyway, we're doing viewer mail this week. I'm Tim Eli. I'm doing this cold, which means in non-entertainment parlance, I haven't read any of these questions yet. We'll begin with question number 1. Tim, how much blow could the Ox do? And what is the Keith Moon Hotel story? Thanks, Chris Mackey. Well, I'll tell you what, how much blow could the Ox do? See, the Ox was my first wife's nickname. Not that I would know how much blow she could do personally, but according to Twitter, she did one hell of a lot of blow, the skank that she is. I see her driving around town with the car I used to own, and it's like, fuck you, and fuck you too. Next question. Corbin Rains from Albany, New York asks Tony Viejo, is it true you once killed a man using your feet and a can opener? Well, we had Tony Viejo himself here to answer that question. Tony Viejo.
Thanks, Tim. And Corbin, that was a dark area of my past, but that has been resolved. And if you must know, surprisingly, you can crank a can opener and hold someone in your right calf muscle and use your left foot to crank it around their neck if need be. So if you're ever in that situation, you know how to defend yourself now. Damn wetbacks in the kitchen.
Excellent answer, Tony Viejo. Excellent answer. Question number 2. This is one for our own Dave Ron Morrow. YouTube user Mr. Greenjoy88 wants to know where he can enlist to fight alongside Pierre LaPierre. And I guess this question should be for Ron Morrow. Ron, please.
See, that's the thing with sidekicks. They don't last very long in my line of work here. So we've had different auditions over the years. Also, technically, Mr. Greenjoy. I'd be looking more for Miss or Lady Greenjoy. Yeah. Or Mistress, technically, if we're getting, into my own personal taste. But no, I'm not looking for any applicants at this time.
Excellent, Mr. Morrow, or Pierre LaPierre, or Pierre LaMorrow, or see you tomorrow. This just tweeted in by Pierre LaPierre. Perfect timing, too. He says, tell those Morrow brothers I'm ready for both in a tag team. 7th dimension. Dimensional cave match. And he finished by saying, bring your cereal toy, too. Interesting comment. Alrighty. We'll just file that one away with wipe my ass with that later. Okay, let's move on to our next question. Son of a bitch, he sent me the question again. Next question comes in from, we got a couple here still. Good thing we have 62 minutes on that disc there. Google Plus username Plumber's Pipe Dream 4 asks, what happened to that skit you guys used to do where you put a broomstick up to do the weather and had some girl's voice play in the background? Well, first of all, that broomstick is up my ex-wife's ass, okay? Because that's one of the things that came out of the settlement. And that's where that funky voice came from. See, you see this bottle right here? This is the sweat off of my balls. Guess what? And you don't get it. And you know why? It's the one thing the judge said I could keep. And you want to know how good it tastes? I'll tell you how good it tastes. So fuck you. Next question. Tim, that's me now. Where is Salisbury Hill? And what is its significance? That's from Jim in Mulsbury Hill. Jim from Mulsbury Hill. Salisbury Hill was a strip joint in Camden, where I met the future and past Mrs. Eli. See, she was a Republican stripper. Her name was Nude Gingrich. Tell you about her. It was coming back from the island of Tinny in Tillehi, just delivering the bomb. The Hiroshima bomb. 1,100 men went into the water. She fucking went down on each and every one of them sons of bitches. And you thought it was just a goof when I called her penis breath. Anyway, we welcome the opportunity for viewer email. So please, right off the presses. A viewer named She's a Bitch. She's a Bitch. Must be Jewish. Wanted to know what Rice thinks would be a good way to lose weight. John Rice, if you would answer that, please. Get a smoke if you got it.
Getting a motorcycle accident. Going to a coma for 7 weeks. Then you should probably die. Or jump off the Coney Bridge. But,
Finally, the last piece of email is from a woman, a viewer named Happy with Half Your Salary. Dear Tim Eli, the alimony check is late. Dear Skank, I hope you choke on each and every fucking penny in that fucking check, all right? Honest to goodness. You know, the one thing that comes out of this that I still get to keep half of is my sanity. You know what? They should write songs about you like, she'll be stink around my finger. The police didn't write that song.
Thanks, Tim. And thanks to you viewers out there for sending in your questions for us. We gladly answer them, and we'd like to hear from you. So keep them coming. That about wraps it up for this week's edition of the I'm Only Serious News Network Sunday paper program. Join us next week when I'm sure there'll be a few more letters from Tim's you-know-who. We'd like to thank everybody tonight. Dave and Ron Morrow, and hopefully they won't leave with the gift from the studio. John Smarmy. Welcome back, John Rice. Also good to see Tony Viejo back with us again, and Tim Eli, and our very own cameraman, director, and movie extraordinaire, Darren Martinez. Thanks, everybody, and see you next week. Quicker, please.